Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. So today I thought I would do a video based on makeup techniques. So this is makeup techniques that I do on myself as a makeup artist. So what I'm going to do, obviously I have no makeup on at the moment, I'm literally just going to go straight into the video, talk about the techniques while I apply my own makeup. So I hope you enjoy and thank you for watching. Okay, so I've just put my hair up as I am putting makeup on, so I don't want it to get in my hair. And also please excuse my hair because I need to tone it, so it's like really yellowy coloured at the minute, so just ignore that. To start off with, we are going in with the skincare. So I have already done my serum and my eye cream. I'm now moving on to moisturiser. This can be done with any moisturiser. I'm just taking my Clarins one, which is this one here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just taking a regular amount on my finger. So if I sort of show you that there. So just like a small pea size amount, or a bit larger than a pea, so maybe a couple pea size amounts. And I'm rubbing it in between my hands. And I'm just massaging this into the skin as normal. So going all over the face. And then whatever is excess, bringing that down the neck as well. So this is just a normal sort of step that you would get in your makeup routine. I have more oily skin, so I find personally this doesn't apply to me as much. But if you are more of a combination skinned person or maybe dry skin as well, when you apply your moisturiser at first, because you've just applied it all over the face, it is going to feel more hydrated than if it wasn't going to be on. So it is going to feel even, it's going to be hydrated, it's going to feel the same basically all over your skin. So what I recommend is you apply your moisturiser as normal, leave it 5 to 10 minutes and then come back and feel your skin and see where it feels dry again, so where the moisture has really been soaked up. So in those places you need more moisturiser or more serum, whatever's going to be your most hydrating product, you need more of it all over those areas. So I don't find it as much on my skin as it is oily. I do sometimes get it here, so already I'm feeling like my cheeks, my nose, my head is still feeling quite moisturised. This area here doesn't feel as moisturised as the rest of my skin does. So I normally like to apply a little bit more in that area there, just because it does need more moisturising than the rest of my face does. If you are drier, you might find that you might need to go over a lot more of an area again. But I always recommend maybe like make yourself a cup of tea or start on another place of the face, so maybe on the eyebrows, and then feel on your skin where it is that has got a lot drier. Go back in about 10 minutes later and reapply your moisturiser in those really, really dry areas because they are where needs the moisturiser. So my next technique is that you always start with the eyes. I used to be that person that would start with their foundation and do all of my face and then my eyes and then eyebrows, then lips. That used to be my routine. But I have now changed it, so I do my eyebrows first, then my eyes, then my face, and then my lips are still last. So I'm going to start on my eyes and eyebrows while I talk you through this. So the reason that I always start with brows and then the eyes is that when you use darker colours or eyeshadows, because they are generally more of a powder product, it is a lot more common for them to fall on the face, particularly under the eye area. Okay, so I'm going to show you this as an example. I have just done my eyebrows and stuck a bit of concealer as a base on my eye. So I'm going to go in with a big fluffy brush and a transition shade. So I'm just using some of my P. Louise colours. So I'm just going to take a little bit of the shade here, tap it off. A lot of these shades, it can depend on the palette. A lot of these shades I do find have quite a bit of fallout, but then some palettes not as much, so it can depend on the palette as well. But if I just start taking this across the lid, I'm just going to sort of blend that in, tap that in and then blend. And it's normally the more that you start to build up these colours, the more you find you might get drop underneath. So I'm just taking a little bit more of that transition colour, and that just under the eye, blending through the crease. And then I'm just going to do the same on the other side. And now there's not too much there that I can see that's actually fallen down. I'm going to take a slightly deeper shade just so you can see if there is any. So going in with a warmer sort of mid-tone brown, and then popping this on the eye that little bit further. So I'm just patting that on and then blending in. Okay, so I've just gone through with my eyeshadow and I've put a little bit of a darker shade on just so you can really see. But I don't know if you can see ever so slightly around here, it might show a bit more if I tap it. You can see that some fallout from the eyeshadow has landed on my face. And if you were to rub that after you've done all of your concealer and foundation, it's just going to create that dark mark there. And then as you can see as well, it also has fallen and gone slightly messy under the eyes around here. So it's worth always doing your eyeshadow first before anything else, so you can get a cotton pad and literally just lightly sort of tap and then wipe up any of that excess. And what I like to do as well is just sort of make a little bit of a sharper line. You can always reapply your moisturiser and a bit of eye cream, but I just like to clean it with a bit of micellar water and a cotton pad, and I just go under the eye and lift up and then create that nice clean look under the eye. So I've done that as well there, and you can see that it doesn't matter how messy you are there, it is going to just clean that all up. So my next tip is for brushes and tools. So one of the best tools we have that's completely free is our fingers. For some reason it is seen as a big like no-go to use your fingers to apply things like foundation or concealer or anything really. It seems to always be that you need a brush or sponge, which I completely disagree with. I feel like using your fingers can give a really, really good result as well. So I'm going to show you as an example on my eyes. So it will be with a shimmer shade. So I'm going to go in with a shimmery sort of light goldy sort of shade. And I'm going to start off by applying it with my fingers on one eye. So if I pop some on here, make sure you can see. So this is just one application using my finger. So I did put a primer down and I'm just popping a little bit of that all over, and I don't know if you can see, but it is very bright, almost blinding straight away. If I was to do the same with a brush, so I've taken the same shade on a brush, and again I'm just going to pat that all over the lid. You can already see it's not half as shimmery as using your finger was. Using the finger has created much more of that sort of even and really pressed it in, and I also find it helps to make it look less chunky. Whereas when I use a brush, I find I have to keep going and going. It almost layers up the product, which is not what I want. I want a smooth layer product all over the eye. So I'm going to go back in again over that eye with my finger just to blend that through. And you can see already it's so much brighter on that eye there. Okay, so my next step after you have done all your shimmer and using your finger, again using your finger on the eyes, is applying a highlighter on the inner corner. I've done this for years, I do it on all of my clients and I'd never not do it on myself. So what I always do is take a very bright shimmer, which I'm going to take here, and I'm literally on my finger again, I'm just going to pop this all on the inner corner of the eye, and it just opens up the eye so much more, makes it so much brighter and makes you look so much more awake. So I don't know if you can see the difference there. It just makes such a difference to the eye. I'll do the same on the other side again, so taking it on my finger and then just popping that on the inner corner here. You can see again it just really brightens up the eye. Something else I do quite like to do with the same shimmer, take a little bit just on a brush, and I like to lightly blend that under the eyebrow, and it sort of brings both of the colours together. So it brings it all through and keeps the same sort of colours throughout the eye. Okay, so now the eyes are pretty much done, we are moving on to foundation. So this is something that I would recommend before you actually purchase the foundation. So if you are looking to buy a foundation, so going into store and doing a colour match, this is something I very much recommend. So I'm just going to show you with this one here. It can be different depending on your foundation and brand, so it's something just to be wary of. So I have just popped a bit of foundation on this area of my skin here. I'm just going to let that sit, so I've just applied it there if you can see it. I'm going to give it 5 minutes and then come back and show you how the colour looks. Okay, so now this has dried down, you can sort of see it there. it's given that nice smooth effect, and it's sort of blended in with my face and neck. You can see that there isn't a lot of colour change. If I was to reapply this as it is when it's wet, if you want to compare the colours here, this is it dry and that is it wet. So that is the foundation before it has dried down. So a lot of issues that I have seen that people do is they put a foundation on and they go, oh yeah, that matches, that's fine. But the issue is now when it dries down, it's going to be a completely different colour to what it is when it's wet. That's why a lot of foundation does go darker on your skin than what it was when you first saw it. So I always recommend when you put your foundation on, let it sit for again 5 to 10 minutes. If you're going in a store, it might look a bit silly, but just literally put a few swatches on your skin, let them dry, have a walk around, compare in the mirror after 5 to 10 minutes, and then you will see the true colour of the foundation. Not all of them do oxidise and change colour, but a lot of them do, and there's nothing worse than buying a expensive foundation, getting it home and realising that it's much too dark. So that is something that I always recommend you do when you're buying a foundation. Okay, so now I am just going to apply the foundation on to the face. Another trend that I've seen a lot, this is in particular with skincare and foundation, is that people will get the foundation and directly squeeze it onto the face. And this is going to make you look very cakey. You're not going to have any control over the product. It's not going to be even. You might have more on this side than that side. So it's really, really not good to do if you want a nice base of foundation. So I always say, whether it is your foundation, concealer, any sort of liquid product, always go from the back of the hand onto the face, as it's easier to add product than it is to take away. So I'm just adding a squeeze of this onto the back of the hand, and then I'm taking my brush, I'm dipping it in, and then from there I am applying onto the face. And this has just given me that more control. I've got more product on the back of my hand if I need it, but I've got enough product on my brush that I need for my face. I haven't squeezed it directly on the skin. So what I'm going to do is just buff that all over the skin. And something else that I always find is that depending on where you hold your brush will depend on what sort of finish you will get. So this applies to both the face and the eyes. If you hold the brush down here, it's going to be a lot stronger on the skin. It really pushes it in and you seem to get a lot more sort of coverage. Whereas if you hold it at the very end, it's a lot lighter, it blends it in. And I do prefer holding it at the end, it blends in a lot smoother and it's not as heavy-handed. It sort of lightly taps it into the skin rather than really sort of smacking it into the skin. I always find that that works better holding it towards the end, especially when you're blending your eyeshadow. Holding it at the end is really nice, it gives that swirly sort of motion on the skin. If you were to hold it like that, I find that's better for packing in colour. So if you're going on the outer corner and you really want to get that colour packed in, hold it here. So this is packing it in. This is blending it out. So end is blend and in the centre is really packing it in. So I tend to hold it at the end a lot more or slightly towards the end of the brush. So while I am applying my foundation, I'm making sure that I sort of go on the outer side of the face. I find that I need that bit of coverage all on the outside. I am also going to take it onto the inside of the face, but what I do like to do is leave all around the eye area separate. So I've not put any foundation all under the eyes and I'm not going to put any on this side. So I'm keeping it all around sort of mid of the nose. I'm not going any higher than that. And this is because when you go to put your foundation on, you've already got your eye cream under there, your serum, your moisturiser. If you're then to go in with a primer and your foundation, that's already about 5 layers of product. You're then putting that 6th layer of product on top. And this is a lot of the time why you get creasing. I'm not putting any foundation on there because that's one less product to have under the eyes. And I do find that foundation naturally moves. It is a little bit thicker, it doesn't soak in like your skincare would. So having the primer under there is going to help stick it down. That's going to then stick down the foundation if you put that under the eyes, and the concealer will move and crease if you also add that under the eye. So what I always prefer to do is avoid the eye area with your foundation and just go around there without the foundation layer in between those two. Okay, so going in with that rule again, I'm just going to apply a little bit of concealer under my eye here, and then you can use a brush to blend your concealer in. A brush can be quite nice, but I do find that using your fingers really helps to warm the product. So I am looking up and making sure to really just blend those concealers under the eye and getting as close to the lash line as possible, as sometimes brushes can be a little bit fluffy to do this. So I do find that using your fingers works best for doing this. And then blending that initial concealer in works really well like that. And then what I do quite like to do, taking a little flat concealer brush, just going underneath where I've done my wing, just to really sharpen that out. So there's no reason why you can't use a brush or sponge, but I do find that using your fingers to blend in the product works really well to warm it into the skin and give that most natural look. Okay, so the last thing that I have to say that I love doing, I learnt this from another makeup artist about 2 years ago and I've done it ever since, is to do a blusher. I've just got my blusher here, obviously there's not a lot left in there, but what I'm going to do is your usual thing, so applying it on the cheek and obviously lifting it up, gives that really nice look to the face. Something that she taught me, which I find is so effective, is taking a little bit of that blusher. Again, I'm going to blend this out, so I'm holding it on the end of the brush and just bringing that up on the head and then blending it down around the temples, and it really brings all of that colour together rather than just having it on one part of your face. So I do like to put a little bit on the nose as well. I have already put my bronzer and set all my makeup down with a powder, but you can see that by just bringing a little bit up and blending that in with the bronzer, it makes the colour look a lot more natural and then blends it in throughout the face, so it just brings it up rather than having a stripe in the centre of your face. And because the sun would naturally hit your head around there, it gives that really nice sort of sun-kissed bronzy look on the skin. So I do find I do this a lot more. This is more of a peachy blush. I do it a lot more with a peachy blush than if it was a pinky one. I'd go a little bit, but maybe not as much as I would with a peach. But you can see that there. I do a bit on the other side as well. Then blending that up around the temples, holding it at the end of your brush, and that just blends all of that colour together and makes it look a little bit more natural. I'm just going in with my powder puff, and I find that this just blends it in that little bit more. But it brings the colour up onto the head as well as in the centre of the face. So I feel like we have a lot of colour in the centre of the face. We've got all the eyes, we've obviously got the blusher and then the bronzer. So I feel like this is such an underrated technique that I always love to do. Okay, so I have just put a little bit of lip gloss on to finish off this look, but these are a few techniques that I loved and I used to create the look that I've got on today. So I use them basically every single day of my life. I use them on myself and I do also use them on my clients. They are something that I do recommend and I find works really well. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to see any more videos, please let me know, and if there's any requests that you would like to see, please do let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I know I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.